And welcome to a new episode of the 314 Sports Show. Obviously, we took a break last week, but we're back. Should be a fun one. Chris with us. We got James. Brandon is also with us. We'll have Josh and Jordan joining us here in a little bit as well. Talk some Cardinals baseball. Little rough start for Kyle Gibson today. So, but we'll get to that point later on. But let's start with a little bit of some news coming out of Salute today. So, from my understanding, I don't know if this is 100% confirmed yet or not, but it sounds like it's going to happen. That a deal between SLU and Grand Canyon University on the men's basketball side of things is going to happen for a home-and-home series. So they'll play at Grand Canyon for the 2024-25 season, and then at Chaffetz Arena in the 25-26 season. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but when you're getting turned away, I guess, by some of the big Power 5 schools and whatnot, whatever you want to call them, it just seems like a good pickup. Grand Canyon's been a pretty solid program the last couple of years, so it should be an interesting little match there. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on what this could do, how this helps SLU and what they're trying to basically, I guess, rebuild in sort of a way.
Well, in my opinion, I think it's just exposure. Grand Canyon University right there in the Arizona area, the Sun Belt. That's a nice play. It's a nice area, and like you said, that team's has done some nice improvements, and SLU is looking to come back to their former glory over the last few years, and I like the idea. I like seeing those kind of new adventures and see what that can lead into.
Yeah, anything they can do to widen their kind of exposure nationally is good. GC is a very, very successful mid-major program. And you would anticipate that, with SLU being in the headlines of getting, Josh Schertz and getting, the transfer portal players that they have, that, any opportunity they have to go out and compete with, those types of teams, again, it's always tricky when those non-power fives, are trying to play power fives, because there's not really much in it for those, for those big teams. But if you can play the better mid majors, it's always going to be a benefit. And I think this is a good move for SLU, and I wouldn't anticipate it only being the only one. Right. I would imagine this is just the beginning of these types of home and home matchups that they schedule. So.
Right. What division is GCU in?
They're Division WAC, aren't we?
They're Division 1.
Okay.
Because they're
I'm sorry, not division, conference. I apologize. Conference? Yeah.
They're in the Western Athletic. Is it Western Athletic?
Yeah, the WAC.
Yeah. Which they had a pretty solid run in the NCAA tournament this year too. They just happened to play a really good team in. It was Alabama. They ended up losing to.
I believe so. Yeah.
So that's a tough matchup, and the fact that they were able to compete with a team like Alabama shows the kind of grit that team has, and hopefully that's something that helps SLU and helps the basketball, the men's basketball side of things get better, and back to like NCAA tournament style stuff. So we'll see what happens. Some pretty cool stuff there though, to know that they're working on boosting up their schedule a little bit more. So, but we'll we'll finish that there. Let's talk. We'll jump over to some city stuff here, and we'll talk about the. Move this off the screen really quick. We'll talk about the last game against Atlanta United, which saw a little bit of a iffy call, I would say, just a little one.
Yeah.
This is the City Corner edition of the 314 Sports Show. Chris, were you at the game Saturday?
I was.
Yep.
Yep, I was.
I kind of figured it being at City Park and stuff and whatnot. Let's jump into the one thing that kind of caught my eye this weekend with it.
Okay.
It was that weird is it VAR? They don't have like
VAR.
Yeah. Yep. So what it was a it was a goal by everybody thought was a goal by St. Louis, and about
Yes.
the 44-minute mark right before halftime.
Mhm.
After going on a review, and it was a long review, right?
It was
Longer
yes.
than normal. Longer than normal.
Yes.
They come back and say, even though there was a goal, there was a foul that was committed before the goal, which disallowed the goal.
Yeah. So what they were looking for initially was whether or not Klaus was offside. And one of the things that I have to sometimes explain offsides to my wife, who always goes to the games with me, and she's new to soccer, is you don't have to physically touch the ball if you're offside. It's not like hockey, right? So
Right.
Klaus was in the vicinity of the goal of the Brad Guzan, who's the Atlanta United goalkeeper. And so that's what they were looking at was he close enough to cause interference? It's not kind of like, like hockey goaltender interference. You physically have to make contact, right? They used to have the in the crease rule back in the day, but they got rid of that in hockey. And now it's, you physically have to touch the guy. And soccer is not necessarily like that. As long as you're close enough to cause some sort of disturbance or distraction, they can call you offsides. And so the initial call on the field was that he was ruled offside. And so they went to VAR to verify that he was or was not. What they are essentially required to do, however, is review from the entire point of where the attack starts. And that was the unfortunate part, which was they ruled that no, he was not in fact offsides, which should have been a goal.
Right.
However, the initial turnover was caused by a foul. And therefore, even though it happened about 15 to 20 seconds prior to when the actual goal was scored, that the entire sequence is voided. And so the only other sport equivalent I could make to it is the entry in hockey, where they might go back and say, okay, was the initial entry into the zone offsides, right? And they can go back and look at that, the entire offensive sequence, to make sure that, yes, so-and-so was either on or offsides. That's the only equivalent that I can think of. Because, yes, it was a very long replay. It was not handled at all well by the referee, who, comes out and says he's not offsides. However, and that's the part that's getting drowned out by the crowd who's cheering, thinking, oh, it's a goal for City. And so it was poorly handled. Ultimately, is it the right call? I guess. It's an interesting interpretation of how that rule's supposed to be used. And yeah, so it was very controversial at the time, and since then it's got even more controversial.
Yeah.
In fact, the league had made a point of posting on Twitter about, oh, here's this controversial call that everybody's making comments about, and was on ESPN and all these different social media outlets. And Tim Parker, who was City's vice captain, basically replied to that MLS post by just posting a clown emoji, which he was fined for today.
I saw that.
Yes.
Was it $5,000 or something stupid?
It was an undisclosed fine. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably 5. But I mean, he summed up in one emoji what the entire city thought of that whole situation. So
yeah. It's nuts. So they finished with the end up 1-1 draw against an Atlanta team that seemed to isn't the same, I guess, same style of Atlanta team that we've seen probably the last 2 years or so.
So Atlanta has been kind of an interesting, the advantage that City had going into that match was that Thiago Almada, who is Atlanta's best player, who is not long for Atlanta, he's going to be in Europe very, very soon.
Yeah.
Who's an Argentinian superstar young player. He was on yellow card suspension. So, just like we had lost Tim Parker, the match before then, once you accumulate enough yellow cards in a time period, you have to sit a game. Almada had that situation happen, so he did not play. He was there. He was actually at the stadium. He traveled with the team to come watch, but he was not on the field. And so that right there was, a big bonus for City. The game itself was pretty well played by City. This is a team that's coming off probably the worst performance they had ever had as an MLS franchise
Yeah.
when they played Colorado and looked absolutely awful. And so they really bounced back with a pretty decent effort in a game they really probably should have won. Again, finishing is an issue. They had multiple chances to get goals. They missed, they had a penalty shot that, a penalty kick that rocketed off the crossbar. Klaus hit the crossbar in the first 5 minutes of the game. It's just one of those things where this entire season is, the breaks that we got last year, we're getting none of those this year. The bounces that went in last year are bouncing out this year. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where, from a fan base perspective, did the team look better against Atlanta than they had in the past 2 matches? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, you're not getting the 3 points that you really need. And so it's becoming, time is running short. Now that we've kind of crossed over the midpoint of the season, time's running and the clock is ticking for them to kind of climb back into playoff position.
Right.
Yes, there are reinforcements on the way.
Yeah.
But they can't get here until July 20th. They can't play until July 20th. So City really needs to start, making up ground if they want to be a contender for a realistic contender for the playoffs.
Right. Is it just one of those things right now that they're just kind of, do you just continue to play, do enough, I guess I should say, to keep yourself in the playoff race and hoping that the guys that are coming in, that they picked up on some of the transfers and or trades or whatnot, however, we're looking at it.
Transfers. Yep.
Yeah. So how, is it something that they're just kind of hanging on to? Like, let's keep ourselves in contention and hope these guys can help us change things.
The hope is that they don't fall out of touch with the playoffs by the time those guys get here. Right. Cedric Toyert, who is the first guy they signed, hopefully is going to bring offensive contribution, can play up front, will probably be playing with Klaus in that striker or some sort of, combined responsibilities up top. Again, he is going to be training with the team basically by the end of this week, but he cannot play until the 20th of July. Right. Nobody can. So that's the summer window opens on July 20th. The hope is that, yes, that they don't fall out of touch with the playoffs by the time those guys roll around, because, once the 20th of July hits, they basically are going to have 9 matches left in the MLS season. Right. And so, yeah, you could go on some sort of ridiculous run of winning 7 or 8 or 9 in a row. Is that realistic? Probably not. And so you don't want to put yourself in a position where guys get here, you're going to be ineffective or you're too far out of what the race is. Yeah. This weekend will be tough because, they're going to Vancouver. Yeah. The Vancouver match is one that is against the team that's currently in 9th in the West, who's 6 points up on them, who has a game in hand on them. If you wind up dropping 3 points to Vancouver, now they're 9 up on you. And it's starting to get a little dicey as far as, are they going to be able to make up that much ground, towards the end of the season.
Right. I'm just trying to look here. So if you're 8 and 9 qualifies, so you get to 9th, which is where Vancouver's at now. You're in
9th is the play in,
like a wild card round, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So 8, 9 play against each other. The winner of that is then the 8 seed, essentially. Gotcha. So. Gotcha. And so Vancouver is always a tricky match. Not to move on too quickly from Atlanta, but Vancouver's tricky. We can kind of get into that. But ultimately, with the Atlanta situation, it was another game that they probably should have got 3 points at home, which they have not been doing a good job this year of securing those 3 points. Right. You can point to 3 or 4 matches that they really should have won instead of tied. And if you win 2 or 3 of those, you're right in the thick of 7, 8, 9, right? And it's just the inability for them to close out games. Now, again, the bigger controversy of the Atlanta game to me was not the goal that was denied City. It was the penalty kick that was awarded to Atlanta and not reviewed. And it was reviewed. VAR reviews everything. Yeah. But they have to determine that an clear and obvious error was made in order to call the referee over to actually look at it. And the fact that they didn't do that and that was a very borderline penalty, in my opinion, that it at least should have been looked at. That was the bigger controversy and the bigger disappointment to me. But as an MLS fan, you're used to awful refereeing. So it's just like, you just kind of shake your head and you're just like, yeah, we got reffed again. It's just one of those things. So,
right.
Now Vancouver is a tricky one because they play at BC Place, which is the dome up there. It's indoor. It's on turf.
Yeah.
They did not look at all comfortable last year when they went up there to play on the turf. It was right towards the end of the season.
Yeah. It was a 3-0 loss.
Yeah. They looked like they had no idea how to play on artificial surface. That turf up there is very slow. So the ball rolls very slowly on it. It's one of those things where, before the NHL really kind of standardized the rink sizes. I remember when I was growing up back in the day, you had a lot of varying rink sizes. And so you'd have some of these teams that played on little bitty ice surfaces like Chicago and Boston and some of the old arenas where they were used to playing on that, in that surface and on that size, and other teams were not. This is kind of the equivalent of that, right? Is Vancouver's used to playing on that slow turf they have up there. And teams come up there and don't see it, but once a year, if you're in the West, and if you're in the East, you might see it once every 2 or 3 years, and it really throws you. And so hopefully they have a little more acclimation to it this year now that they've played on it. But getting points up there, it's a long flight. You're traveling on the West Coast, so it's tough. It's a team that has been up and down this year. Again, we've talked in the past when I've been on with you guys about there are good ties and bad ties, right? A tie up there would be pretty good. That means you're not falling further behind them. Right. Yes, getting 3 points and getting a win would be awesome, but realistically, if they can get a point on the road in Vancouver, kind of keep that gap the same, okay, you can live with that.
Yeah. So is there anybody who I wouldn't say we should expect, that makes it sound not so nice sometimes, but anybody who we hope has a better game or is like, takes a step up, and
the one to watch basically is what you're looking for. One to we won't go so far as to call him a pick to click, but we'll call him the one to watch. So the probably the most watched player for the Atlanta match on City was Nokri Thorson, who was getting his first MLS start because Celio Papayao suffered that horrific leg injury and is going to be out for at least 9-10 months. Do not watch it if you haven't seen it. It's really gruesome. It's bad. And those of us who were watching it, live during, when it happened, we weren't there obviously because it was on the road, but it was, you don't want to watch it. And so with his unfortunate injury and are waiting on our reinforcements of transfer players, Thorson was essentially called on for his first MLS start against Atlanta. And this is a guy who has been a very controversial player, has not played well, has not really, it's not that he hasn't played well, he just hasn't done anything, right? He hasn't made an impact off the bench as a sub. And so people are starting to really question, okay, is he an MLS level player? Can he play up, can he be physical enough? Cause he's a tall, skinny guy. Yeah. And it's like, is he just going to get pushed all over the place? Is he not fast enough? Like, does he have the physical ability to play here? I was questioning it. I've said many times in conversations with, some of my friends and podcasters and different people I talk to about City, I don't know what he's good at. Like he's one of those guys where you're like, okay, he hasn't proven what he's good at doing or what, his skill set is. Mm-hmm. However, this was by far the best game he's ever played for City, was that against Atlanta. He was aggressive. He had multiple chances on goal. He had a breakaway he had a half breakaway that he had saved. Right. It could have been a goal. It was his best game. And so I don't know if it means that he is a guy who just isn't good off the bench and needs to kind of get into the flow of game by starting. Sure. There's those kind of guys in other sports, like in basketball, guys who are good off the bench or not good off the bench, So, so I think with him, I'll be really interested to see how he responds, because I would assume he's going to get another start. And if he has another strong game, then that's a good sign that, maybe he is capable of playing at this level. Maybe he is, somebody that they didn't kind of waste an international slot on and money on, that can fill that role until we get those guys in July.
Gotcha. Yeah. Outside of that, is there anything you already mentioned that you go in with the draw or come out of Vancouver with the draw would be a positive, but is there a possibility that they could come out with a win?
Yeah, Vancouver has some injury issues. They also have some guys missing for Copa America. City has Kyle Hebert out with the Canadian national team, so there is a little bit of international conflict with some of these teams, and Vancouver's going to be missing their goalie. Their starting goaltender is probably not going to play. Ryan Gauld, who's one of their forwards who torched us last year for 2 goals,
right,
is on the injured list. I would be a little surprised if he played. He might, or they might get him some minutes, but he's probably not going to play 90. So, I mean, there is an opportunity there. There's definitely a chance for them to go up and get a win there.
Sure.
Is it expected? Clearly not, because they have 3 wins all year, and how can you expect them to win? But, again, like I said, they need to start making inroads towards advancing up the table. And with the schedule coming up, they have obviously that difficult road trip to Vancouver on Saturday. Next next Wednesday they have a terrible San Jose team coming here.
Yeah, who just fired their head coach too.
Yeah, who just fired their head coach. Again, there is a very common thing in MLS circles called new coach bounce, which City has now played against 2 of those guys. Atlanta, that was a new hire. We've seen that in the past where teams play better all of a sudden for a little bit when they get a new coach. But we're past the point now where we have said multiple times, well, yeah, they have to get 3 points out of this match, right? Or they have to get 3 points out of that match, and they haven't. That San Jose game must absolutely be 3 points. It has to be. They cannot tie that game. They cannot lose that game. It's at home. Even though it's on a Wednesday, I don't care. It's going to be loud, just like it always is. But that is as close to you can have a non-elimination must win. That's what that is, right?
Right.
Then after that, the next week, that Saturday, so they're going to play 3 games in a week.
Mm-hmm.
That Saturday is Colorado again, and that was again the worst game they played all year was Colorado here. And you wonder, okay, are they going to figure some stuff out, or are they going to go out to Colorado and look terrible against a decently good Colorado team?
Right.
So, if you're looking at the next 3 matches and saying, okay, well, realistically, what can we expect from a points perspective? If they don't get at least 4 out of the next 3, that's going to be massively disappointing.
Right. But you're hoping for 5. You get 1 out of this one, 3 out of the San Jose one, at least 1 out in Colorado. So
5 would be positive.
5.
Yeah.
5 would be.
I would be. I don't think anybody, even again, there's a lot of people who are kind of sick of all the ties and stuff. And again, there's good ties, there's bad ties. If we wound up with tie, I would take it.
Right.
Now the problem is that as we go along in the rest of the season, we have more road games than we do home games remaining. Mm-hmm. And so we are going to have to start to get 3 points on the road here and there. And after we go to Colorado, then Vancouver comes here, and then we go to Seattle, we go to Kansas. So some of those games need to start turning into 3 points regardless of where they're being played.
Yeah, and it's a lot of travel too. You look at, like you just mentioned, you go to Vancouver this week, then you go back home, and then you're you said then
going to
Colorado, and then it's home against Vancouver again, and then they're going back out to Seattle. Yep. Basically Vancouver, Seattle area, and then back home. Or no, Kansas.
Yeah,
back
they're
home
going to Kansas.
So
yeah, you're going all the way out to Seattle on the 17th, and then coming back, and then going on the 20th, across the state. So and over to Kansas. So it's a lot of travel, and this is the time of year, that it becomes more difficult, obviously, because, all of us in this area have stepped outside in the past couple of days and realized what the weather is like, right?
It's an oven.
It's been absolutely miserable. It's awful. And, welcome to summertime soccer, right?
Yeah,
You're running 6 or 7 miles in a game in 95-degree weather, and it's not fun.
yeah,
And so the big advantage that they had last year was that they built that cushion early. They started 5-0.
Yeah.
They built enough of a cushion where they could have dips in the season and, periods where they didn't play well, but they built up that buffer, that cushion of points, right? And that's what they didn't do this year. And now they're playing catch up, and what you're hoping for, like I said, is that they can just kind of keep it close. Hope that, and again, it's also an ask to expect guys who are just coming over, who have played full European seasons, who are essentially taking vacations right now, to all of a sudden hit the ground running, and everybody's going to mesh with everybody. Like, you're going to almost need that, but it's a hard ask.
Yeah.
So,
it's going to be interesting to see what the new additions. They got three of them, right? 3.
Well, 2 have been announced, which is Cedric Toyert, which is the striker / forward / attacking midfielder. Jake Girdwood Reich, who is the Australian center back. I don't anticipate him being an impact player for them this year. He's a young guy. He's 19. Like, he's a long-term guy, right? And then the guy who they haven't actually officially announced yet is Marcel Hartl, who, from all reports, that contract is done. Everything should be good to go. They just haven't actually announced it yet.
Right.
There was some rumors or rumbling that maybe he was going to come out on Saturday and get introduced at the game. Like, they like to do those kind of hype things.
Yeah.
He would be the biggest impact player of all 3 of those by probably a pretty wide margin. And so, if that's a guy that they can plug in at the attacking midfield spot, definitely on offensive threat. Our friend Tom Franklin, who you guys have had on before, talked to one of the second league Bundesliga podcast, which is the second German league where Hartl played. And the guy was like, he's going to light it up over there. Like, he's perfect for MLS. He's 28 years old. He's right in his prime. He's a physical player who can score goals. Like, he's the exact type of player that they need. And so the next question becomes, like, is there anybody else? Is there anybody else that's lurking out there that Lutz is working on getting here? Once we kind of have everybody back from injury, once we have everybody back from international duty, like, what does this club look like for the remainder stretch of the season? It wouldn't surprise me if they add depth, but I would be surprised if they add any other major pieces beyond what Toyer and Hartl would bring. So
Well, so you just hope that they can bring that little bit of a spark, so the city can get on a end of the season run and get themselves to sneak themselves into the playoffs, and maybe pull a little bit of, not, I don't want to tote KC too much, but maybe pull a little bit of a shocker in the first round, and
it would be nice.
Catch one of those top teams when they're not playing so well.
Yeah, one of the other things too is hopefully the moves that they're making, because they've made some outgoing moves as well. AZ Jackson got transferred out to Columbus. It has not been announced, but Sam Adeniran is out of here for sure. Like, Carnell addressed that at the end of the press conference against Atlanta, basically saying, hey, they're negotiating, they're working on negotiations, and he's gone. I don't like to speculate on that kind of stuff, but Adeniran especially, I think, he had that stretch where they basically had yanked him off the roster, not happy with his effort, not happy with his attitude. Jackson is a guy who they were pretty frustrated with, I think, and a lot of people were frustrated with. They were expecting him to really take a big jump up and play this year, and he regressed terribly. And you wonder if that had bled into the locker room a little bit. And so maybe kind of removing some of the potential issues in the locker room will help this club going forward. Because you don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire, and you can kind of see things that are maybe going on that they don't want to talk about. But hopefully the clubhouse gets unified and all the first step, which was getting a solid, if a slightly disappointing result against Atlanta.
Right.
If that can turn again to a good effort on the field in Vancouver, then I think that'd be a positive step forward.
Yeah. That sounds hopeful. At least we'll put it that way. We'll leave it.
I'm still hopeful. Yes.
Yeah. Leave it.
Can't be super optimistic at this time, but you can still be hopeful. And if they can climb and again stay within shouting distance, 4 to 6 points out of that last playoff spot, and then we have a 9 or 10 game window to try and make noise, I think that's good enough. If they're 10 or 12 out when those guys show up, that's probably too much to ask.
Right. Yeah, which makes sense. Well, I definitely appreciate the insight and thoughts on
no problem.
On things on
sure.
City FC right now. Said hopefully they can get things figured out. That big game against Vancouver this weekend will be a fun one to watch, I'm sure. So
for sure,
we'll jump over to bring Josh and Jordan in. Got a full house here tonight again. Josh, Jordan, how you guys doing?
Good, man.
Another Cardinals win today?
Yeah, we just locked it up. Helsley tried to make it interesting in the ninth, but he finished it off, and we got a win. Wins 2 out of 3 out of Atlanta. So
that's it. That's a positive thing because you get closer to that first seed, first wild card spot at least. And I don't know. I know the last I saw Milwaukee and the Rangers were. This was
Milwaukee walked it off.
Milwaukee did end up winning. That's a bummer.
Yeah,
that's the only bummer.
Doesn't help us at all.
No, not at all. But hey, let's talk some. We'll jump over. Let's talk some Cardinals baseball.
What a team! What a ride! The Cardinals are world champ.
We're all going to be really tiny over here, so you'll be okay. They'll be all right.
They don't want to see us anyways.
Now 26-15 since Mother's Day. Jordan, I haven't heard from you in a while outside of the 7th-inning stretch.
I've been mad busy on Wednesdays for some reason. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just going to say I haven't heard from you. So let's hear your thoughts on what's turned things around for the Cardinals.
Truthfully, our pitching has always for this season, our bullpen has always been strong. It's been a little iffy these last couple games though, but we've still been pulling off W's. But our offense is finally hitting the ball. We're getting on base constantly now. Because you win games by getting people on base and then scoring them. We don't hit a lot of home runs as it is.
Right.
But that doesn't matter if you're winning ball games. So we do have some key players that are struggling that we need to really work on to get to that next extra step. But other than that, I'm actually quite pleased of the Cardinals for the first time in a while. So
yeah,
it feels good finally. So because we're the best NL team since Mother's Day, right?
Right.
Let's agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 20. Like I said, now 26-15 since Ollie Marmol's ejection in Milwaukee.
His fluke ejection because he wanted to get ejected.
You win the challenge, and you're like, I just want to go home, kind of thing. But yeah, so you get another win today against a pretty decent Atlanta team, 4-1.
We won the series.
You did win the series. You didn't get a sweep. Kyle Gibson had a little bit of a rough start in today's game 1 of the doubleheader. They had 6. He had 5 walks himself, which were all early on in the game within the first and second inning of the game 2 today. And then Kyle Leahy also had another walk, which was the most walks that the Cardinals have thrown this year, which is a little bit. I would say that's a little bit of a surprise with the way some of the pitching has went. Josh, what do you think on how you feeling on things right now?
I'm still not a believer.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with where the team's at. I'm very happy with the way they're not very happy. I'm happy with the way they're playing right now. I would like to see a little bit more offense. Some of these games are a little too close. I'm not really upset with Gibson with his performance today. He had to miss his12 spasms right before the start. So he hasn't pitched in like 12 days, something like that. So,
yeah, it's been a while.
and he was absolutely, I'm not gonna say dominant, but he was a guy to be. What's the best way to say that? He wasn't feared, but he was a guy that you knew you weren't going to walk up to the plate and you were just going to knock the ball out of the park on him all day.
Yeah.
So he's been pitching really, really well. So I'm not upset about it. First game back, he's got to find his rhythm again. So I mean, I'm really happy there. Lance Lynn had a good game, his last game. So things seem to be coming together. We need another pitcher still. We still need a starting pitcher. We need another bat if we're going to be serious about making any kind of run into the playoffs. But Cardinal baseball's been fun for the last 40 games.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's really what it is. We're not getting blown out. We're not blowing anybody out. The games are all interesting. Ryan Helsley is a magnet for the flair. He's got a tendency to put some flair into the games by making them close to the end. But I mean, we're winning baseball games right now. So all that matters is you're winning games. I don't think anything else has changed other than that the young kids have found their rhythm. Could you imagine if Arenado was even hitting 280 and Goldschmidt was hitting 280?
Yeah.
And Wilson never got hurt. I mean, he's better than Arenado right now. Yeah. But can you imagine if they were what they should be, what they're being paid to be? Good Lord, this team would be on fire and we'd be in first place, and it'd be something to be positive about. But I think we're buyers at the deadline. And that tells you anything.
I think so.
I do agree with that buyer's take, but then also I feel like that's not the thing that we should really be focused on because the bullpen has been overused like crazy because like you mentioned, not focused on, but like it should be a key point that it should be known that the bullpen has been overused. And so we have Helsley pitching constantly, JoJo Romero and Andrew Kintridge pitching constantly. The downside of Kintridge is that he's getting hit on now. And same with JoJo Romero and Helsley. And so we really, like Josh mentioned, we really just need to get our bats amped up a little bit more so we can spread our leads out. We need to start winning these games that are further spreads because I feel like I know that we still have a run differential of like negative 27 or something like that. Like that's ridiculous.
What's that? In just a second.
That's how I look for you.
Okay. I know it's really high and
minus 31.
Minus 31.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Those are rookie numbers. They got to pump those up, man.
We're winning all these games. We're winning all these games. But we have a negative 31 run differential. I feel we need to figure out how to chill out with our bullpen and then also improve at a bat somewhere in our lineup.
Yeah.
I think if we get another starting, a number 2 or a number 3 starting pitcher, I think that helps take care of the bullpen issue.
That would help us.
I don't know if
we don't have.
You guys saw? Did you guys see the ESPN trade deadline thing that was out yesterday? So basically, it was a suggestion of what player would make the biggest difference on each team. Basically, who would address the biggest issue.
Right.
And they said the biggest issue for the Cardinals is their lack of hitting with scoring with runners in scoring position, which they're awful at this year. And the player that they had matched up that would make the most sense because he hits for power, hits for average with runners in scoring position, and has 3 years of control is Brent Rooker from the A's.
Oh yeah,
and
I saw that this morning. Yeah,
they ain't gonna give him. We're not gonna give him enough for him.
They said he would be fairly reasonable.
We can give him nothing. We can give him our trash bag and they'll take it.
You could probably tell the A's that we'll give you like $200,000 to help you with your stadium fund issue in Vegas, and they'll probably take that.
I'd be okay with buying a player.
That's a good idea. I say go for it.
I would love Brent Rooker though. Chris. I mean So our little insider keeps it in my ear all the time is the Cardinals need to trade for Brent Rooker. The Cardinals need to trade for Brent Rooker, and that's all he keeps telling me. So that's a guy I would be down for sure.
Talk about Logan. Logan,
yeah.
Okay. Little insider.
He's my little insider. He stays on top of everything and feeds me all my information because he knows I'm busy with wife and kids and work.
Yeah.
But he's been all over Rooker since last year. There's another guy out of Oakland or Sacramento or whatever the hell we're calling them now.
Just the Athletics.
Yeah, the Athletics. I can't remember who the other name he gave me, but there's another guy over there that he said would be good to get. But I want Crochet out
Abraham
of
Toro?
that might be it. But I want Crockett, whatever his name is, out of the White Sox organization.
Yeah,
And give me Tommy Pham back.
Why do you want Pham?
Yeah, why do you want
just
Pham
just because if we have a brawl, he's going to smoke somebody.
Oh, we have Burleson.
That's a wasted
I don't want
spot
Burleson
like
breaking a
Carpenter.
hand.
That's a wasted spot like Matt Carpenter.
Yeah, you're just gonna
Go ahead.
You're just gonna load up the outfield more and just stack it up. Waste of a roster spot. Talking about the guy who went 1 for 1 today and got a run.
Hey, Matt Carpenter's a national treasure, guys.
Yeah,
and he has been.
I
all
have
the
an
rookies say
opinion on
he's
him.
helped so much. I mean,
Burley
has come out and said Carpenter is the reason that he is hitting the ball so much better this season.
it's that veteran.
It's real veteran leadership in the locker room. He's teaching them how to play. Jordan, you can be mad about Carpenter being on the roster, and I understand where you're coming from. But let's all be honest. When Carp was in his prime, he was a force to be reckoned with at the plate, and he was more than serviceable.
That's true.
He was good for like 5 years.
Realistically, he was.
Oh,
it was
come
like 2 or 3.
Come on. Calm down, Mr. Hyperbole.
Whatever.
He was only good for 2 years.
Regardless, he's helping the young kids learn, and he's turned Burley into a monster at the plate.
I mean, if you look at it, I wouldn't say he's part of the reason the Cardinals are playing a lot better baseball, but was just happened to be a coincidence that they are playing better since he was put onto the roster in Milwaukee.
I mean, it kind of adds up, doesn't it?
Kind of adds up, just a little bit.
And Crawford's been playing fairly well for an old man.
Yeah,
so
I think it's just that little bit of like you get a lot of young guys, and having young talent on a roster is great in all and right. And you see that with the Blues too. You get a lot of young talent who just they don't know how to play mentally every game, every day. So you bring somebody in with that little bit of veteran leadership side of things, which is why I think the Blues would be dumb if they got rid of Brandon Saad.
They're probably going to.
It sounds like they're probably going to. Is that they just bring that little bit of like calmness to the locker room, just be like, all right, like, hey, we didn't have a good outing last night. Let's go out and just let's go out and play ball. Let's just go out and let's just go out and skate. Let's go out and do what we need to do and continue to build and do things better. One thing better every day. And I think that's what we're seeing out of the Cardinals is that they're doing something better every day.
For the most part, yeah, I would agree with you. But can we talk about a couple other players real quick that are not getting any love that they should be?
Who is that?
Okay, Michael Ciani's defense in center field is absolutely ridiculous. He should be a Gold Glove contender defensively this year.
Right.
But as good as he is in the outfield, he's just as bad at the plate.
He's horrible at the plate.
He's bad at the plate. He did get a hit today, though.
He did get a hit today, but
in game one.
Yeah, first game.
Yeah.
And he had something in the second game too. But I mean, his defense he has saved runs. He has saved runs in center field. I think
Marcelo's
he'd be valuable. Yeah, for sure. But I think he'd be a valuable trade piece at the deadline. As much as I don't want him to be gone right now, I think he could fetch us something in return. And then the dogs just went wild. Pedro Pajes has been excellent behind the plate. Where, like, if you could take Pajes and Herrera and put them into the same player, we'd have a hell of a trade value guy right there. Because Herrera can hit like a dog. Pajes looks great behind the plate, but neither one of them could do the opposite right now, and it's infuriating. So that's one thing that bothers me. Pajes is growing on me. Brandon, we can't hear you.
You're still muted, buddy.
Sorry, my bad. I forgot that. I thought I tapped my button.
You thought wrong.
I did think wrong, apparently. How impressive have these two guys been? You talk about players who, are kind of under the radar a little bit.
Mason Wynn, Rookie of the Year. And
Mason
guys,
Wynn,
go out and vote for him for the All-Star game. Ellie De La Cruz has got 4 times as many votes as he does, and Ellie De La Cruz ain't even close to the player Mason Wynn is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I love Mason Wynn. He's a top 3 Rookie of the Year for sure.
Behind
and
who?
Shota and Paul Skeens. Like,
Okay,
come
Paul
on.
Okay,
Skeens,
Skeens
yes.
hasn't played enough one, and Shota's
Oh,
played professional ball before, so he shouldn't even be eligible for rookie.
Oh,
of the year.
come on. That is so unfair.
That I
No.
agree
Why is it
with.
unfair? He's like 27.
Yeah,
Dude, he played. This is his first year in the major leagues.
It
You're a
doesn't
rookie,
matter.
you could be you could be a rookie of the year if you were in the minors all the way up until you were like 27. You're a rookie at your age 28.
so
You can win rookie of the year at 28.
you're telling
How's that difference?
here's my comparison for it. So you're going to tell me that if a guy who played in the KHL for the first 3 years of his career came to the NHL and was considered a rookie, he could still win.
I don't
That
know.
depends on age.
I don't know.
The
I don't know the
KHL is
competition
good.
level
KHL is
between the
Russia.
KHL and the
It's
NHL.
basically like it's like the
It's a step below the NHL.
yeah, like the
Okay.
Japanese league over in Japan, where
Yeah, I mean
Where
they're
Shota came from.
freaking good, dude.
yeah,
They're just like Japanese ball players. They're freaking good.
Yeah.
KHL hockey players are great. Now, if it's a KHL player who was 18, played 3 years, came here at 21, I'm okay with him being considered for rookie of the year.
he still
But if he
has
gets here
3
when he's
professional
26
years under him though.
But if he gets here when he's 26 and he's in his his body is fully matured and primed, no, he shouldn't be a rookie of the year candidate.
Well, okay, all right. So like Ichiro, did he win? Did he win rookie of the year?
I don't know how he wouldn't
I don't
have.
know.
Yes, he did.
Wasn't he?
Pretty sure he did.
Wasn't he in the Japanese league for like 6 years?
Was it? Oh goddamn,
Then what's the difference?
Hold on, I'm
Here's
looking it
something.
up.
that's fair. That's fair. I don't know.
Maybe he just won the MVP that year. I don't remember, but
I believe he was rookie of the year.
I know he had a
I
I
think
know he had a kick-ass rookie season.
I don't know. I don't
I mean,
think
Wynn's going to be in the conversation for rookie of the year.
Oh,
Skeens will be
wins in the
there.
conversation for sure. 100%.
Jackson
Ichiro was
Merrill
27.
From Jackson Merrill will be in there. From the
Yeah.
Padres, Joey Ortiz from the Brewers will be in that conversation. Like, there's not. I don't think there's a clear front runner right now. The name guy is Skeens, right? If he pitches
The
like
main-
this the rest of the year,
yes.
he'll probably win it.
The main guy is Skeens right now. Skeens, I would putting Shota's last
outing.
what is it? Last start
Yeah,
behind
against the
because
Yeah.
pitchers have bad games. Who cares? Paul Skeens is going to have a bad game. He's going to blow up. Who cares? It's and in this order, probably in my opinion, Shota, Skeens, and then Mason Wynn / Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, I guess. If we're gonna look at it that way, you kind of Ichiro as a rookie when he come over. If he, that's how things worked out. That's how things work out, I guess. I don't know. It just seems a little bit. The more you think about it, like kind of iffy that you're gonna throw a guy who's played 4 or 5, professional years in a different league, and bring him in and say he's a rookie. So I don't know.
And I'm not disrespecting Mason Wynn at all. I honestly, truly think that if Skeens wasn't supposed to be as generational as he is, or as good as he is, and then Yamamoto getting hurt, that hurt his case, and then Shoto's surprising everybody, Mason Wynn would for sure be in the top 2 or leading with Jackson Merrill.
Right. Yeah. On the other side of things, Alec Burleson has been probably one of the better hitters over the last probably
Biggest
2 weeks.
Oh, he's
2 weeks or
insane.
so. He had another hit. At least one hit. I know he had one hit tonight. We have two hits tonight. 2 for 4, with 2 RBIs in tonight's win over the Braves. How much has that helped? Where the Cardinals are at now. How much has his play over the last couple weeks helped? Have the Cardinals where they're at right now.
Oh, it's tremendous. If he wasn't hitting the way he was, we wouldn't be where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs,
Is he-
ands, or buts about it.
Is he an everyday starter at this point?
have to.
I don't know how you keep his bat out of the lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case scenario, he's got to be in the DH if he's not in the field. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. That's fair. Anybody else? Anybody else have any thoughts on these 2 guys, Chris, James, or Brandon?
Burley, and the 2 guys that have been really carrying the offensive load has really been Burley and Donovan.
Yeah.
Donovan is last week went 3 home runs and also went 11 for 26. Like he's hitting with people on base. He's hitting with he's getting on base constantly. But then also you're looking at Brendan Donovan's versatility out on the defense. Like he's been quite valuable for the Cardinals. Alec has been quite valuable on the defensive side, but then also significantly more on the offensive side.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Josh, what do you?
And I think also these guys are indicative of something that we've talked about before, which is with young guys, and we had this conversation a while back when we talked about Jordan Walker.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes a couple of years. Sometimes it takes time for these guys to find it. And, and obviously Wynn didn't hit at all last year when he was up. And you don't expect it because he's a young player and it's his first kind of go round, but Burleson's been up for a couple of years. And I think this was the kind of the make or break year for him. And obviously he's taken advantage of an opportunity for playing time and, and Walker not being around and right. That kind of opened the door for him. And, you can clearly see that he's a guy that, and they've had guys like this in the organization before where you have to, the bat plays, so you have to find a position. Is he ever going to be a great right fielder? No, but he hits like this, who cares? So,
right.
He's been one of their offensive keys this year. So,
yeah.
Could he be at first base next year for the Cardinals? That's the thing that I keep thinking about. You don't re-sign Goldie. Can you put Burleson at first base and he learn to be an everyday first baseman?
I don't see why not. He's played there before.
Right. I don't think there's a problem with it. It's kind of something out of right field that we wouldn't expect except for Pujols did it.
That was good.
I was going to say left field. I was like, hold on, he plays right.
I think, we've talked a little bit before, Josh, about long-term, what do you do with Walker? Is he a potential first baseman on this team in, a year, 2, 3 years, whatever? What's the long-term plan with Arenado? Is that a guy that you would eventually potentially move over across the diamond? I think if Burleson is competent in right, that's fine. Right. One of the unrealistic things sometimes is that people are like, well, you have to be a good hitter and then they need Gold Glove defense at every position. You're never going to have that. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're scoring more runs, not to get too Moneyball, but if you're scoring more runs than you're preventing, then that's how you win. Right. And so I think if Burleson's a guy that they say, okay, longer term, is he more of a DH type? Well, okay, you can say that, but Contreras is probably going to slide more into DH as he gets older. And so if Burleson can be competent in the outfield, I think they leave him there. I don't think they want to mess with it.
Yeah.
At this point, I heavily consider trading Arenado.
Maybe
do that.
I'm at that point with him right now. I think if you watch him play the last week and a half, and they finally dropped him down the order, swings don't look good. I mean, he's still tenacious defensively. I mean, I would hate to lose him at the hot corner, but.
Josh, didn't they just drop him down the batting average or the batting order?
Yeah, they just dropped him down to
sixth. Maybe that's future destination for him. Just keep him there.
I know there was that little report that came out that he said he was still battling with his was it tendonitis in his elbow?
Yeah, he's been dealing with that all year. He said, right?
For the most part, from what it sounded like, yeah. It's been an issue all year. It comes in, waves. It'll be fine for a while, and then it comes back. And he's taken a couple of weird hits too. He got that one off the elbow, and then he get hit in the wrist. Last week or week before, as well. I know he got
last week.
Last week, I know he got hit in the wrist area too, or in the hand area. I don't remember which game it was, but I do remember him getting hit.
It was a day game because I was at work.
Yeah. But I'm sure that's affected things a little bit in the way he's played. But, who knows?
Well, and like I said, I love Arenado, and I want to see him retire as a Cardinal. But if if we're going to try to make a run for it, like we're not that many pieces away from making a run because, again, like we all seen it before.
Right.
All you got to do is get in and anything can happen. Sonny's pitching well. Gibson's been fine. Lance is just Lance.
Mhm.
We go get another pitcher and we go get a bat. If that cost me Arenado, I got another guy who can play third base. Actually, I got 3 of them that can go play third base. And we can move guys around. So, I mean, it gives you an option. And we should have traded Goldie last year. That just is what it is, and we missed the boat there.
That's fair.
I mean, this team could look, as much as I was on the Arenado and Goldschmidt train, after seeing the development of the young kids this year and what other guys can do, we missed it from last offseason and made it look like a rebuild and just seeing what happened. I mean, put Gorman back at third or put Walker back at his natural position of third.
Carpenter.
I mean, Carpenter can go play third too. I'd rather him be on the bench, to be honest. But, I mean, it's – yeah, I know you are.
I see.
You totally threw me off there. I just there's more possibilities we could have had with this, and I feel like we're kind of stuck now because we're sitting with these 2 enormous contracts that aren't producing.
Yeah.
But I don't even know what we could get for them at this point. So I think we just write it out, keep Arenado down in the order, hope that Goldschmidt stays hot, and just keep rocking and rolling the way it is. Because, like I said, it's kind of enjoyable baseball, to be honest. I mean, they're fun to watch right now.
Yeah.
Well, you wonder too if when Edmund comes back, does that And again, even ESPN talked about the other day, like they're expecting him back shortly, whatever that means.
Well, he rolled his
Let's
ankle.
say Edmund comes back.
Let's say September.
Let's say magically Tommy shows back up again, right? Okay, now that would potentially give you a little bit of flexibility to say, okay, if we need to give Arenado a break because his elbow is messed up or he just needs time, you can put Edmund at second, you can put Donovan at third. Like you have a little flexibility, a little more flexibility because you're picking up another infielder. And you obviously want to keep Gorman in the line as much as you can, but having him back would be helpful to address maybe trying to figure out what's up with Nolan because Josh is, as much as it's easy to say, well, we could try and trade him, but you'd be trading him at his absolute lowest value.
Oh yeah.
What would you be getting for him? And would you, you could say, well, you could trade him, you could try and get a pitcher, but what level of pitcher are you getting for a guy who's playing as poorly as he is this year? Probably not very good. So
not much, but we could package him with somebody who wants to give him a fresh start. That's what I'm thinking. You got to find it. You got to find the right
Carpenter in on that deal.
Sure.
You know who could probably use him?
Who?
The Colorado Rockies.
Oh man,
The Rockies
Send
are.
him back to
But
where
who
he
do
is.
the Rockies have that we would be?
Tovar.
Just bring Chris Bryant over. It'll be fine.
No.
Bring Chris
God,
Bryant
no.
Tovar's good.
God, no. Chris Bryant.
Oh, what?
He sits at home more than he plays.
over. It's
I mean,
fair.
it would help if Middleton wouldn't have just had recently had season-ending surgery. What's the other pitcher we got? O'Brien.
O'Brien.
Auto
Brian?
part.
If he'd ever show up and play ball, that would help. The bullpen's struggling, but we got our 3 key guys who are being overused, like Jordan said earlier.
Yeah.
If we could if we could just get healthy, like that's really what it comes down to. If we could just get healthy.
Yeah, was it Giovanni's first appearance today in game 1? Was this his first day back?
I was
Mine,
busy at
or-
work. I didn't get to. I was listening to his most
Gio came back.
Yeah, he pitched
I'm
one inning.
working too, so
I was listening to it on the way home, and I know he pitched 1 inning today, and then they pulled him because he got dizzy.
Dizzy.
Yeah.
Dizzy.
He was supposed to pitch 2 innings.
I wish
They
I could
pulled
take
him
off
after
work for
1.
being dizzy or having.
I know.
pain.
No.
Man.
Yeah, well, you don't get paid millions of dollars to
Oh, I
throw
definitely
a
did.
ball.
Yeah.
No.
Moving on here to this thing, to the next part of this is, what upcoming series you get the Reds for 4, then you go to Pittsburgh for 3, and then Washington for 3 as well.
We should go 10-0 here.
The Red series.
Okay, we're gonna
is
drop like 1 or
huge.
2, but I mean.
Well, yeah, but we should win all 10.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which one of these is more important for they're all 3 important,
Pittsburgh.
but which one's the more important one?
The Pittsburgh series is the most important, but it's most important that we take 7 from the Reds in Pittsburgh. We can afford to lose 1 or 2 to Washington.
I'd rather lose one to Pittsburgh than
I
two
need
to them.
every win in the division I can get.
We're
I need
facing
everyone in the
we're facing off against Skeens and Jared Jones again.
I don't care. I'm unimpressed.
I'm being confident here, and if we beat both of those two guys, I think our confidence for this team will just continue to start rising.
Yeah,
because we've beat Skeens, who is Rookie of the Year contender. And then we beat Jared Jones, who low-key is a Rookie of the Year contender as well. That's a huge jump of confidence, and it's a huge morale boost. The Reds have nothing that would make any sort of morale boost except that they're a division rival, and then Washington's Washington.
right. What should they?
I do like these three teams, though.
They're a little bit better of a team than I think a lot of people expected this year.
Who, Washington?
Yeah, kind of like
yeah.
a sneaky,
Oh, no. They are for sure.
Well, CJ Abrams has been playing out of his mind.
All I know is
Oh.
I'm going Saturday, and they got to win that day. That's it.
See,
You
for
better
any-
bring home the
against the
bacon then,
Reds.
buddy.
for anybody.
CJ Abrams played in Fort Wayne when he was going up. He's so much fun to watch. He was so cool.
If I
He's a
don't get a chance to go Friday to the Paul Goldschmidt City Connect bobblehead night, if somebody out there would graciously send me, I would really appreciate it. I really would, because
Wow,
I've seen it. I've seen it in the little promotion thing. That I don't want to go Saturday because it's the mystery size jersey day. That's the worst promotion I think could possibly do.
I find it. Am I the only one that thinks it's funny?
I
It's
think
funny.
I'm a
It's
big
funny,
fan.
but it's
Not if they
awful.
give me a small size jersey, I wear a 2X.
Oh, I'll just give it to somebody. I think it'd
Well,
be
yeah, I
funny.
have to. But I'd be mad if
Yeah,
I spend all that money for a ticket and I can't give a jersey, a free jersey that fits. Jeez.
right.
Yeah, last game we went to, we got Paul Goldschmidt jerseys. It was sick.
So, but I thought that bobblehead, the City Connect bobblehead is pretty solid
I like it.
choice if you're going to any game this weekend. Go Friday. There's only 2,500 or 25,000 available. So
Only
Oh.
25,000. Just
Only
over half the stadium.
25,000.
yeah, that's like
So don't be late.
yeah. If the attendance numbers are anywhere that there should be about 5,000 people who don't get them. They did today's attendance, by the way, for game one, and I know there wasn't 33,000 people there today for game one, but that's what the paid attendance was for game one of the doubleheader today. Was 33,000. So
I just found out I can't. I just put two and two together. I can't watch the next series. That sucks.
why is that?
You know better because
can't-
he's in Indiana. It's blacked out there.
I can't watch the Reds
Red.
play. I can't. Yeah,
They have the Reds blocked out, but not the Cardinals.
we
He's
we
really
have
close to Cincinnati.
I cannot watch any Tiger game, Cubs game, Reds game, or White Sox game.
Be better, MLB.
Yes, please.
Yeah, be better. Be better.
Right.
Me-
This is how you grow the game. Is you prevent people from watching it. It's
Yeah.
an excellent strategy.
or put it on. I mean, Roku's not an awful idea, but
I love the Roku broadcast. I think the picture quality is sick.
It is. The Apple's picture quality. Sick,
Oh,
but their
Apple's
announcers are
quality is
horrible.
insane.
yeah,
But
I
their
really
announcers
like
are
how
horrible.
I don't like their announcers, but their camera quality. I'm a
That's
sucker
ridiculous.
for videography. I love it.
That's the big advantage that we have in MLS, which
Right.
is that's who broadcasts all MLS games, and the picture quality is awesome. I mean,
It goes hard.
Control over it.
yeah. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
quick.
Like I discovered all the streaming services like Roku, Peacock, Apple. All of them have fire broadcasting.
Peacock is really, really, outside of Apple. I think they're probably. I haven't seen a Roku game yet, so I don't know.
Oh,
I
it's
can't
really
speak
good.
on Roku.
It's really nice.
But I know like Peacock stuff is up there as well. I'm really curious what Netflix is and how Netflix stuff is going to turn out once they really start to get more into things and figure their production out on the sports side of stuff with live events and whatnot. That'll be pretty neat. But quick question before we move on to some Blues draft stuff. Do you think the MLB will eventually do like almost like an MLS season pass thing, but for baseball, obviously. With the streaming provider.
They do it for mostly every other sport, don't they? I know they do a hockey pass, and I think soccer, but I don't know, or no.
Well, I mean, there's MLB TV, which is the streaming service that I pay for every year because my wife's a Brewers fan, so she wants to watch them.
How do you guys get along in the house?
Because she's not a Cubs fan.
Okay.
It's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
That's small victories.
That's a lot.
But they have MLB TV, but I don't think any of this is going to get changed or modified until they figure out all the regional sports network stuff, right? Because that's what's hanging over baseball more than any other sports league is what are they going to do with all the old Bally's affiliates, and is each team going to go do their own thing, or are they going to sell it off as a package to an Amazon or somebody like none of that is decided. And so they can't do anything until they figure out the regional sports network situation. And then they have to tie that into some sort of streaming service. The criticism of MLS, not to keep talking about that, but criticism of MLS is that, yes, the Apple broadcast quality is awesome. The announcers are pretty good. Like the studio whip around show, which is kind of like their equivalent of NFL, like the goal line scoring show on DirecTV back in the day.
Oh, Red Zone.
Yeah, Red Zone. Yeah, they basically have that for MLS that's going on while the games are playing. Like it's great production quality, but you're locked behind an Apple TV subscription. So even though an Apple TV subscription is not as expensive as a Netflix or anybody like any of the other ones, it's still a gate, right? And it's still a gated thing where you have to be in that ecosystem. You have to have a subscription to then be able to watch it. And so you wonder, like, are they fully? Baseball is so traditional that are they going to alienate the 70, 80-year-old fans who are like, I don't watch stuff, so I don't stream. Like, are they ready to make that leap yet? I don't think so.
So did any of you guys hear the rumor that KPLR is trying to negotiate getting the Cardinals games and the Blues games back?
I saw that. Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
I'd be all over that.
I've
loved. It's 11.
KPLR was channel.
It's 11.
It's 11.
Oh, it's a CW. Okay.
Yeah, CW.
Yeah, the CW.
The CW.
Well, put them on Fox.
That'd be cool.
instead.
That was outside of the games being on Fox Sports Midwest. That was some of like the earliest things. Like turn on.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't CW at the time. It was
It was WB.
Yeah.
It was
right?
the WB. Yeah.
WB.
And then before that, it was just Channel
KPLR.
11
Mhm.
when I was.
Yeah.
growing up,
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah.
So, that'd be cool.
Miss the
that'd
days
be
of Ken
cool, though.
Wilson. That was legit fun.
That's one of my childhood memories from St. Louis. That one of the few that I remember is watching the games on Channel 11,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in the early '90s.
Will you take the toy, please?
No, he won't.
No.
He's
How
a
are you
good
gonna
boy.
tell?
Be
Don't talk
nice
to me about
to
a good time, Brandon.
He's
I'm not
a
ready for
good
that
boy.
right now.
Be nice.
I got to stretch, buddy. I'm not taking any toys. Wait.
He's So there's one toy, and it's a wine tumbler thingy, and it's the dog. It's Barney, who's the chocolate lab. It's his favorite one because it literally ricochets all over the place.
Nice.
So he could be running one way and it'll bounce and go a different way. It's like a reaction ball. So he's what I call out of the 5 dogs we have. He's our athlete.
5? Wow.
Yeah,
and a baby on the way.
yeah.
Holy cow!
He's our athlete, so he just kind of he's one of those. He can be running full sprint, stop, pivot, and take back off the other way really quickly. As a coach and whatnot, and myself, I was like, that's really impressive. Like that's really
Hopefully
cool.
he doesn't care that he's
So now he hasn't done
Out for
anything
the
yet.
season.
So he's a pretty solid guy. So,
How's his glove and bat?
Huh?
How's his glove and bat? Just curious.
You took it away from me,
Is it-
James.
Is it better than Matt Carpenter?
He might be better at Matt Carpenter than tracking
good.
ground balls. So
Oh, it's fighting words.
yeah.
Man, you guys are being
He
mean.
clearly has
Sauce-
more range.
Oh,
I mean, that's
Yeah.
undebatable. He's
Yeah.
got more range.
Easily. And my dog's gonna go pro. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll see him in the big leagues.
Oh, man.
Sometimes I think my son could do more out there than some. I'm just joking. He's only one.
I was gonna say, dude, he ain't old enough yet to make that joke.
No, that's why I quit halfway through. Yeah, he's just 1 year old.
Mine's not even here yet, and he's going to start center field for the Cardinals.
It's a he?
One. No, not he. I don't really know. I'm just going
Oh,
to
I was gonna say you found out.
No,
I think he does. He just doesn't want to say anything.
No, we really. I
had-
100% promise we don't know anything.
I'll never believe you
I
now
had
if
a-
it comes out as a boy.
I don't know anything. But
I had a whole dream Oliver got drafted by the Yankees, and I had to throw away all my Cardinal stuff.
Why? They're in two different leagues.
yeah,
No, I'd be full on Yankees. I wouldn't care.
True.
Oh, call me a traitor. That's my son.
You sell out.
all right. Let's talk some Blues draft stuff. Brandon and James are gonna help cover things here, and we'll jump over to that. The NFL draft. God, the NHL draft. It's right around the corner. It's only 4 days after Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. It's no big deal.
Some crazy.
It's no big deal.
Longest NHL season in history.
259 days,
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
Yep.
So that's a lot. It seems like it's a lot longer than you're looking at Game 7 was 2 weeks after the Blues won their Stanley Cup back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Right at 2 full weeks. So, Brandon James, let's talk some Blues draft prospects. And the first one I talk about, I'm going to butcher this guy's first name. So I'm just going to pull his name up onto the screen here.
Stein.
Is it Stein?
I didn't know if it was Steen or Stein. I'm not sure. I butchered names all
Styan.
the
It might be
time.
Stian. It might be Stian.
Stian Solberg. Brandon, what can you tell us about this guy?
So what I have heard, let me pull his stuff up because I had his. So if I remember correctly, this is So he is So him and the other guy, Adam Jirasek, they're both they're both pretty talented defensemen. They're not at some of the talent level as some of the other guys, but Solberg, he's got really good agility. He is what the hell happened to my shit? All my stuff is going wonky. He's a guy that's he likes to hit. He's really physical. He's really good on back checks. He's he loves having the puck. He likes getting in the face of players. This is a guy that the Blues are wanting to go after somebody that has physicality, which the Blues haven't really had in a good amount of time.
Right.
Solberg is a guy that would be good for that role. I mean, especially on a line. If he wouldn't be top pairing for a while, but he has the makings of being possibly in a top 4 role in the defense.
Yeah.
So I felt like this whenever I saw this guy pop up, and they're saying that he could be anywhere in like the 14 to 17 placeholder in the draft. I was kind of excited because we haven't had a guy like Solberg since probably our cup run, whenever we had Maroon, Edmondson, a lot of the other guys that were really gritty and they liked getting in the face of other players.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean that's some of the other advantages of this guy. He's a workhorse. He's got size and speed. So those are all things that would complement the current team pretty well.
Right. And again, if you look at, it's hard to at the same time picture him with the current team if that current team might not be here, or it might be a little different by the time he would make his way to the NHL, because they always go through that at least two, unless you're like a Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard kind of thing. Maybe the Blues just need to draft a guy with the name Connor to get there.
Maybe.
You know, who knows? But you know, it might be 2 or 3 years before you see, you know, a Solberg on. If this is who they would go with, might be that amount of time before the Blues would see him up here. I mean, we've seen guys of the Blues drafted in, you know, 2020 that are just now, or 2021 that are just now getting an opportunity to play in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
So how much of a, you know, how much help does this? Would it really help the Blues to have a guy like this a couple years down the road, James?
This, you know, again, anytime you get a mid-draft person, you're looking at minimum 3-4 years of development in terms of going from minor leagues to the AHL to the NHL. Yeah. It's going to be a while, and it's a benefit in terms of you get a powering defenseman, a Joel Edmondson type player who will fit into that, probably that 3-4 slot, I would guess, unless they pick up a really legit, you know, offensive defenseman, then he might tap into that. He might be that second, that number 2 guy.
Yeah.
This, to me, if he is drafted, this is again, I'm going to go back to upcoming GM Alexander Steen's move.
Yeah.
This guy that he probably scouted. He's probably saying, this is a good guy. In 3 years, this kid will be a legit player for our team. So that's where that benefits us. This is a 3-year down the road guy. Mm-hmm. So if you want somebody who's going to give impact in a year or two, you got to draft in the top 10 no matter what.
Right. Yeah. So you think there's any move? I know Doug Armstrong, they basically come out and said, hey, we're not moving. We're going to stick with where we're at unless something, you know, really good comes along.
So here's my thought process is, so there's another defenseman that is really intriguing to me, not just Adam Murasek, but Carter Yakubchuk from the WHL. He is a beast. 30 goals last year, 30 goals as a defenseman, 6'3", 201, big, hulking, tough guy, great shot, good offensive ability, good defense ability. He's slated to go around number 11, where the Buffalo Sabres draft. Sabres maybe trading that pick. So is this a move the Blues make to get a more legit defenseman who could actually help out in 2 years, maybe even at the end of next year? I don't know. So it's hard to say. The Blues have a stockpile of draft options.
Yeah.
Lots of picks. They can make a lot of different moves. There's a lot of open area to what they could do here.
Yeah. And I was going to touch on that a little bit too, because I mean, I think they're ultimately trying to look at Yamachek, but with his productivity and his numbers, I feel like kind of like what James was saying, he'll probably go about 11 or 12. Probably either Buffalo or Philly will probably go after him. I would probably guess. But I mean, there's a guy that, I mean, you got Solberg, who's this aggressive guy that likes to get in people's faces. You got Jirasek, whose ability with the puck is phenomenal. He can quarterback a power play, and all these things that both of these guys can do. You were looking at both individual qualities of both these players, and you're pretty much putting it into one with Yamachek. Mm-hmm. And the only downside I would really say, it's not really downside, is hockey IQ is not as strong as some of the other players. But, I mean, you're looking at somebody that has size, skill, and aggressiveness in Yamachek that I feel like he can easily make up for that. I mean, especially with having 30 goals and 71 points, and 66 games last year in the, what do you say he played in?
WHL?
Yeah, WHL. Mm-hmm. That seemed to me like he is a player that's going to go pretty high in the draft, unless, I mean, you got 7 defensemen that could possibly be going in the top 15, 16 rounds. And you got another 8 to 10 forwards that are possibly going in the top however many picks. So, I mean, they could be shuffling all different ways. And I mean, we're mostly talking about defensemen, but there's other players too that we'll talk about here in a little bit after we get done talking about these guys that we're looking at for picks currently.
Right.
Yeah. So outside of Solberg here, you also have and yes, I did. So when I was looking for for a photo of this guy. So he has a brother that was drafted by the Columbus Blue Jackets last year. So whenever I searched his last name, that was the only thing that popped up was what was his name? I already forgot what his name was too.
What did you see?
Is
Yeah,
it
you had
Nick?
it. No. Let me see.
I sent it in the.
Yeah, that's how I'm just scrolling right now.
It's in
Adam.
Adam.
No. Wait, no, that's
the
Adam.
other guy. That's his Adam.
I got this. Hold on.
David.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So he's already been drafted by the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Adam was the one who I was looking for, which is who this guy is right here. He's played over in the Czechs, or one of the Czechs leagues, if I remember correctly. What can you guys tell us about Juracek here?
James, if you want to go first, I'll go after.
Possible draft selection for the Blues.
Again, this guy has another great potential guy, lots of skill. They are picking, they kind of flip flop between Solberg and him in terms of 16, 17. It's pretty much whatever's available after 15, whether it's going to be Solberg or Juracek, is going to be up to the Blues to decide. Then Capitals will go next. I like this kid. He has a lot of good potential. Not as defensive savvy, a little more of that offensive side, which is good. But again, this is a 3-year prospect. We don't know what is gonna go here with this. With him. I definitely like the kid. Lots of speed, skill is there. It's just a matter of will that transition into, North American hockey. That's again, it's in the cards. You never know what's going to happen with a mid-round pick like this. It's when I started looking at history of a lot of these mid-round picks, it's the biggest hit or miss area imaginable. You think you're picking someone super worthwhile, has got a lot of potential, then they don't do anything. And then one guy is like, why'd they pick them there? And ends up being a stud who helps win a Stanley Cup for a team. It's just, again, it's Solberg or Juracek. I think you're getting one of the same. Solberg has more physicality, but Juracek can provide a better offensive boost, especially if Yakubchuk isn't available for the Blues.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, you brought up the thought process of having that mid-round draft pick, and you get kind of a hit or miss thing. You look at a guy like Dalibor Dvorsky, for example, who the Blues picked up last year, who seems to be I wouldn't say the next best thing for the Blues, but a very good possibility that he turns into a star player for the Blues. So maybe this is something that happens here. Brandon, what do you think?
I think that Juracek could be a very valuable defender. I mean, if he's a guy that people probably overlooked a lot the past probably year and a half. He played in the World Juniors last year. He didn't play a whole lot because he ended up having a knee injury and had to have surgery. So this is probably the reason why a lot of teams or a lot of analysts are looking at him going in like the mid upper teens. But I mean, if you got to think, if he was healthy during the World Juniors, God damn, I can't talk. This is a kid that could probably be going in probably the high single digits, maybe even like 11 or 12. Because I mean, the kid has tremendous ability. He's quick. He can move the puck tremendously well. He could. I mean, yes, he doesn't have the defensive ability, kind of like what James said earlier. He's still a tremendous defenseman, obviously, with being going in the teens in the first round.
Sure.
But I definitely feel like if somewhere in the mix that Yamachek or Solberg get picked up in the early part of the draft, Adam Juracek would be a very good option, I think, for the Blues.
Is there any possibility he goes earlier than this now?
Juracek,
Like
I'd
16?
say Yurcek is probably no. He's been ranked anywhere from that 13 up to 20 because
Yeah.
he suffered a knee injury last season. So there's that little bit of that caveat. Like, I don't think a team's going to jump early to pick him up unless they flat out want a defenseman to draft.
Yeah.
That's about the only way I see that happen. I think no matter what, I think the Blues are going to make a good move. If they stay in that 16 spot, then I think they go well with either Yurcek or Solberg, no matter what.
Sure.
Now, in the off chance that, because I kind of looked at this too a little bit, and the off chance that both Solberg and Yurcek and Yakimchuk, Yakimchuk go earlier than 16. There are a few forwards that I did see as well. There's only two really that I really caught my eye that I felt like they were probably decent for what the Blues were looking for, and that was Cole Eiserman and Michael. And now this is a name I'm probably going to butcher.
Brandstad Nygaard is who you're thinking of. The Norwegian kid. Yeah.
Yep.
Well said. Well said.
Because both those guys, they have their shot is off the rails. They both have a really good shot. They both have really good skating ability, and these are another set of forwards that were predicted to kind of go in the mid-teens, maybe a little bit higher, just because of all the skill that's already ahead of these guys. If everybody else, all the defensemen go before these two forwards, I feel like could be really good options for the Blues. One's a center. I think Eiserman was a center, and I think Brandstad Nygaard was a right wing.
Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha. It's all, nice to kind of get an idea of what would happen if the Blues, or if these guys were picked up sooner. Chris, do you have any thoughts on things and who you would?
Yeah, I saw a projection. It was just like, it was a compilation. It was, okay, here's who a couple guys from the Athletic think are going to go, and here's who, Craig Button from TSN, who was a former NHL executive.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, so I don't remember which guy. I remember who Button picked the Blues taking, which is defenseman EJ Emery, who is a U.S. development team prospect. That's who he had them taking, but he was kind of higher on Emery than a lot of other people. So, I didn't see a whole lot of talk about Emery going that high, but that's who he thought they would take. The other three, the two Athletic guys and the guy who writes for, I think that it's another hockey blog. They had Brandstad Nygaard. One of the guys picked him for the Blues. One guy picked Eiserman for the Blues, and then the other guy picked Beckett Seneke, who is a kid that plays for Oshawa in the OHL, which is Oshawa is famous as being that was Eric Lindros's team back in the day. So Oshawa is well known for Eric Lindros. But Beckett Seneke is a second coming of Kyrou type player, like super flashy, fast, like that type of style, right? And so so that was the four that those guys that they had kind of compiled, like projected all the way down the first round. But the Yakimchuk, they had him gone well before the Blues would be picking. And so some of the guys you brought up, I think that there would need to be a move made in order for them to get into that kind of 9-10 range. To get a guy that like a Yakimchuk or even a Stian. So like one of those, get a Solberg. So I think they're going to be gone probably before you get to 16.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the teams that are in that 9, 10, 11, 12 spot, you're not probably going to get those spots from those teams without probably giving up something in significant value, because Calgary, they're kind of in the same position as the Blues. They're looking to add to their depth. to try to get better
Yeah. Well,
positioning.
I was gonna say Calgary's they're gonna draft Iginla. Like,
Right.
I think that's just I think that's no matter what. I think it's a guarantee.
Right.
Like,
yeah, then New Jersey, they've had struggles, but they're very close to having the right pieces, and I still don't see them trading unless you want to give something up significantly in order to get to their spot. Buffalo, I heard Buffalo was interested in trading for pieces in order to get to that 11 spot. Philly, I don't see any question about them giving a pick. They're sticking with the 12th pick because what did I see? They were going after. Oh shoot! They're going after Yemechek. If Buffalo doesn't take it, they're taking him at 12.
Right.
So
I think if there's out of those bunch, if there's a team that the Blues do trade with, in my thoughts, I think it's New Jersey. Because like you said, I mean, they've put together, they've already made some trades this year to kind of bolster up what they have already. You know, getting Markstrom from the Flames, you know, in a trade 2-3 days ago.
Hey, you know,
I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, they might need a power play quarterback over there on New Jersey, and I know a guy.
Torrey
That
Krug.
might be. Oh yeah, that guy. I mean, it's a possibility. Like, let's
I
face
was going
it.
to say Matt Carpenter again.
He's next. But if you really think about it, Jersey, really had a down season, a bad season.
Right.
They're better than what they were. They're going to do what they can to make moves to improve. They got some cap space. I could see them give up that pick for some help now to go to the playoffs. And you know, the Blues might bark at that one. You never know.
Yeah. You know, you have heard the little trade rumors that outside of Jordan Kyrou, obviously, you know, you have Torrey Krug in there as well.
Yep.
But another name that unfortunately I've heard quite a bit in the trade market, or at least the trade side of things for the Blues, is Jimmy Snuggerud.
Yeah, I've heard it a couple of times, but that's, to me, if the Blues are giving that up, they better get a player ready now, like a guy that's going to be in there. That's the give. That's what you make on that move.
Yeah.
You know, I made the little blurb about Mark and I think it's Nichas. I said Nikas, but it's Nichas. That's the type of player you give up to get him. That's the type of guys you trade to get a player like that.
Right.
If you're trading Snuggerud, you better get something good in return. And I think it's got to be an NHL player now.
Yeah, and I to be honest, I think the only trade that they make if it's involving Snuggerud, and the only reason I think they do that is because they have a little bit of that trust there that Dvorsky could be, you know, could fill in that spot, and you kind of move things along as high of a prospect as Snuggerud is you send them to a team like Ottawa to bring in a Brady Tkachuk kind of deal. That's the only type of move I could see the Blues doing to get to release or let go of Jimmy Snuggerud.
Yeah.
No, but with that in mind, I don't think a trade with Ottawa is probably foreseeable, especially with the trade that they just recently made with Boston to get Elias Ullmark.
Nuts.
That as soon as you see that trade, any trade that Blues fans are thinking that's going to involve Brady Tkachuk coming to St. Louis, you might as well throw it out the window.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to make that kind of move for something to bring in a goalie that was with a Boston team and did as well as he did this past couple seasons.
Yeah.
And then just turn right around to trade one of their best forwards. You're not going to do it.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, to say something along the lines of Martin Nettis that from Carolina, and you put in a package for him with a Buchnevich and a possible Snuggerud or some other pieces that the Blues have, I don't think that they would package that, because I think that would be giving Carolina a little bit too much for one player. I mean, yes, Martin is a very good player, and he hasn't been in the league for however long, and he's 25 years old, but still, I personally would think that would be a little bit too much. I think they would have to probably add in a pick or two as well in order to kind of even things out. But that would be my outlook for if they were to try to make a move for Martin Necas.
That's a fair thought. You look at trading guys like that too. Trading a lot of guys for one player. I mean, luckily for the Blues, that they've been on the more positive end of the kind of trades. When it comes to like Braden Shin in Philadelphia, Ryan O'Reilly out of Buffalo. So they've been on the positive side of these type of trades. So, maybe Doug Armstrong knows something that, obviously we don't know.
Well, and plus, go ahead, James.
I was going to say, if you rewind the clock about 3 years, when the Blues traded for Buchnevich, the Rangers were in that same spot. They couldn't re-sign him. They didn't have the money. So they had to trade him. So the Blues come in and basically say, take these guys, and we want Buchnevich. And that was a steal of a deal. In fact, such a steal, they got one of the guys back in Sammy Blais. So literally, they traded, I think it was a second-round pick for Buchnevich and Blais. That's what they get out of that whole thing. So, the one thing that I always admire about Armstrong is his ability to make a trade on draft day. I think he puts the pressure on people. He gets players ready now. I mean, a third of the team that won the Stanley Cup was picked up on draft day via trade, or the first day free agent signing. So he works his magic then. Who knows? Who's to say he won't do it this weekend?
And plus, I'm glad I saved it for after what you just said, because now not only do you have Doug Armstrong making these decisions, you got a intelligent hockey mind with Alexander Steen right there next to him, advising with him. So now you got two people that are pretty much trying to make these decisions on what pieces should we go after, what pieces should we keep. And you don't have just, granted, Armstrong has more people that he talks to than just Alexander Steen. He's got a lot of the management group that are within the Blues to talk to, but now to have also Steen there with him and by making these decisions is going to help, I think, that much more.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's fair. Any final thoughts, Chris, on possible Blues stuff?
Again, they're in that kind of weird, we've talked about it before. They're in that weird phase where, are they good enough to win a Stanley Cup right now? No. Are they, but they don't necessarily want to blow it up. And so, it's a tricky spot to be in, because that can turn into mediocrity pretty easily, where you're in that, we make the playoffs, but we have, we're going to get bounced the first round kind of thing. So, really, it's going to be interesting to see, now that they have decided on the coaching situation, like what style this team's going to play next year. And yes, we would like to get out from under some contracts. Like, it'd be great to get out from under the Crew contract, but he's on no trade. Like, if he doesn't want to leave, he doesn't want to leave. So, the guys who they need to build around are still young enough to be core players, but not for much longer, right? Like, Robert Thomas, Colt Parayko, these guys aren't super young players anymore. Like, you need to either maximize what you're going to get out of them and build around them, or start moving pieces and kind of reset the clock. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what route they go, because if they go with, in the draft, guys who are 2 or 3 or 4 years away, like, for example, like EJ Emery, right? If they draft EJ Emery, that's them saying, okay, he's not going to be ready for like at least 3 years, maybe 4. And that's them saying, okay, we're not in a mode where we think we can bring a guy in a year or two and really compete. But if they bring in a guy who's closer to being ready, then maybe that shows you kind of the direction and gives you an indication of, okay, in a year or two, maybe they are trying to ramp up and free up cap space and making a run at it in a year or two. So,
yeah, that's fair. We'll see what happens at the NHL draft here in a couple of days, and you got free agency right around the corner as well. So
this
it should be.
This is really, this
weeks.
is the crazy week in the NHL, like the crazy week.
Yeah.
We're gonna, like, next Wednesday, we're gonna be like, what just happened?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do something sooner, if, like we do something Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
That'd probably be decent. So that way we can, because July 1st and like the first week of July is going to be super crazy with it being free agency. So if we do something maybe a little bit sooner, that'd probably be a little bit easier on us.
Most of the big free agency signings are going to happen within day one.
Usually.
Into day two of free
Yeah.
agency. It's just how that's how it is. That's how it was. I mean, most of the time when I got caught up into it when Pat Maroon signed with the Blues a couple of years ago, or back in what 18.
18. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
18.
Most people who kept up with things knew that Pat Maroon was going to sign in St. Louis 3 days before free agency opened. So I'm sure we'll start hearing, rumbles and stuff through, through the grapevines and whatnot, who's going to be where and whatnot. Because we all know these teams and these players talk way before they're technically supposed to.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
and don't be surprised if the Blues do something early in the week next week.
Mm-hmm.
Trade Jordan Kyrie to Utah. Why not? Go for it.
Bring Clayton Keller back home.
Right.
We'll see what happens. But we'll get things wrapped up here. If you haven't, you haven't noticed, the 3-1 Sports Show has its own, YouTube channel now. Outside is still part of Variety Sports Network. Everything's still there, so make sure you check that side of things out too. Got our own YouTube channel going up now. So really, trying to build things out here at St. Louis and get some more content and whatnot for everybody, for St. Louis sports fans in particular. So help us out. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff as well that you do for everybody else. Chris has an awesome thing going over at St. Louis Soccer News. Tons of stuff on the website as well. Constantly keeping up with City SC, not just City SC, but just, outside of City SC, but all the other teams, being able to reach out to some of the other, MLS podcasts that are out there, kind of helping them out as well. Does a really, really great job on that. So make sure you check out stlsoccernews.com for all your St. Louis soccer news and more. As
Appreciate
well,
that, Brandon.
Always appreciate you stopping by and
of course, it's a blast. Anytime you guys need me, just holler. So
yeah, we can definitely do that. Brandon, James, thanks for the Blues insight as well on draft prospects. Jordan and Josh as well for coming in and talking some Cardinals baseball. And then we had that little bit of Billikens news at the start of the show, so make sure you check it out. And we'll be back next week for another episode of the 314 Sports Show. I almost said right here on the Variety Sports Network. That's how things I was doing. But you
had one job to do.
This thing.
One.
Yeah, well, I did it. So I was cutting a short yesterday for, I think it was the Cardinals stuff. It might have been the Wilson Contreras thing. And I said, hey, that's Brandon here with Variety Sports Network. I can't say that now because it's it'll take a little bit, but we'll be all right.
It's growing pains. You got this.
There's an adjustment period.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. So, and again, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.